Hello everyone and welcome to my guide. If you're still using WASD to adjust your camera, then this video is for you. If you're still using the middle mouse button to adjust your camera, then this video is for you. If you use the arrow keys to adjust your camera, you will most likely have to put in an extra amount of effort in order to really obtain the most out of this video. I would also recommend sending this video to anyone you may boss with or do a lot of high-level monster fights with, just because it may increase your overall team's performance by raising your team's DPS. This video is really addressed to those who do wish to increase their DPS, but also are willing to put in the time and the effort to actually do it. It's not just the people who have the superior Tetsu and the comp capes who play day and night, who can do really good damage at bosses and get all the good drops and stay there all day and camp kills until they get the good drops, who don't have to leave early because they can't really keep up with everyone else and run out of supplies faster. This video will also help those people do even better than they already do, but it's not just for them. With a little bit of practice and some proper keybinds, you can do just as good as those people even if you don't have the same gear. This video will not be of any use to people who only use Momentum or Revolution, who are not willing to change to manual, and if you're one of those people, you probably should stop watching the video now. A player who can manually execute his or her skills with accuracy and consistency and a little bit of common sense can always out DPS someone who relies on Momentum or Revolution in like a reasonable circumstance. A reasonable circumstance would be a player who actually knows how to use his skills, who has Bandos and Chaotix, can out DPS someone sitting on Revolution or Momentum who has, say, Torva and Drygors. Now, like I said, this would require a little bit of common sense on the keybinds part. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you could spam slice all day and you'll get the same result. I can't spoon feed you how to play the game. You will have to learn how to use the abilities on your own, although I might make rotations later on. I might make videos on proper rotations for certain bosses to get the most out of your experience. Many people who will watch this video will try the things I explain, but due to muscle memory and force of habit will probably find it difficult to adjust and will revert to their original setup, even though the new setup is much more efficient. I would not recommend being that person, as this video will be highly beneficial to you. I've looked around YouTube on many RuneScape EoC keybind guides, and I have to say that not a lot of people really seem like they know what they're talking about. I am a former World of Warcraft player. I have a lot of experience. I used to be a best in server balance druid for a little bit during Cataclysm, and I have a lot of experience to back what I say, and that is the reason why you should watch my guide as opposed to their guides. I would highly recommend at least watching the video before discrediting it, but if you do find that it didn't really help you at all even after you tried it, feel free to give it a dislike. Now your keyboard probably looks something like this, or is a Windows keyboard, which is very similar. If you don't have either of those keyboards, I regret to inform you that I cannot help you. You probably have a little bar or a little bump on your F and your J keys. This is because when keyboards were designed in this classic QWERTY fashion, they were designed such that your hands should sit like this. This is the proper way to hold your hands. If you ever went to a typing class, you would have seen this. They most likely teach this in schools. I don't really remember. This is not convenient for WASD because your hand would sit like this. This is very limiting in the sense that your skills are limited to these keys right here. This is not enough keys to fill up an action bar, and players will often end up clicking keys. You never want to click on any skills on your action bar for many reasons. One, because you will never have the same accuracy as someone who does not click, and two, because it distracts you from what's going on. If you're at Zamorak and you're not in really high gear and you're kind of concerned about your health and you have to look down to click something, you might get specced while you're not looking, and then by the time you look up you're dying, and then before you get to your food you're dead. So you really don't ever want to click on anything just for the sake of reaction time. The simple solution to this is to move everything over one key to the right. Yes, then it would look something like this. You would use ESDF to move instead of WASD. I did not invent this. I do not take credit for this. I'm only taking credit for trying to introduce it into the higher level RuneScape players. I have not personally seen this in any YouTubers or other video guides, and if you have, I would really appreciate it if you would show me, because I looked and I could not find anything like that. I adapted this playing World of Warcraft because at higher level gameplay and arena play, players would often find this to be the most effective setup. In this situation, your pinky would rest on A. This would give you plenty of room for abilities because your main abilities would be located on these keys. And your ultimate ability, in my case, this is preference, would be on Z. I like to have keys to adjust my action bars, for example, going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1, going up and down the bars. I assign those to C and V. That is personal preference. If you wish to use combos, although they are not necessary, such as Shift W and Shift R, because you may find it hard to hit certain keys due to different people's hand styles and people have different sized hands and different problems with their joints, you may find it convenient to use your pinky to hit Shift. I don't think Tab works, but you could try it, and then Control and Alt and things like that. Everything I will show you from this point on is strictly preference. I highly advise you follow my guide, although it is really up to you at this point. I'm going to show you what's worked for me. Your index finger will rest on F and will be responsible for hitting 4, 5, T, G, and then going down to C and V when you need to change bars. It will also hit the R key, although I have not remembered to highlight it here. Your middle finger will sit on E and be responsible for going down to D should you find it necessary to hit it, or 3 for the skill. Your ring finger will sit on S and be responsible for W, 2, and 1. To hit 2 and 1 will be a little tricky. You really want to keep your hand in the resting position except for the finger that's leaving. For example, you don't move your hand when your index finger goes to 5. Your other fingers rest on their keys. Your pinky rests on A and is responsible for hitting Z, as well as Q, Tab, and Shift. However, to make your ring finger go to 2 or 1, you will have to let go of that half of your hand and bring the A off of its resting key. This will be awkward for some people to let go and go hit the key and then return to resting position, but after you get used to it, it's really not that big of a deal. As I said, A is responsible for hitting Q, Tab, Shift. This is where your pinky will rest. It is also responsible for hitting Z. Now, you want your main abilities, the ones with the 3-second and 5-second cooldown, or right around that range, to sit on these two keys because they're the easiest to hit and the most accessible. It's the ones you can spam the best. I have actually seen really high level players who don't really care if they have a spacebar or not to assign the spacebar to a key. I'm not sure if RuneScape will allow you to put an ability on the spacebar, but if they do and you don't mind having whatever it doesn't really do anything. If you don't mind, you could turn that into a spammable skill, such as Slice or Punish or something like that. A, personally, is where I keep my stuns most of the time. I just find it convenient to have my finger sitting on a stun such that when the cooldown runs up, I can quickly reapply it. Q is always my food slot. I find it very convenient and easy to hit in a panic because it's right above where my pinky's at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are where you keep your skills with cooldowns between 10 and 15 up to 30 seconds or more. And Z is where I keep my ultimate if I choose to use one, or my threshold if I'm not using an ultimate. T and G are kind of personal preference and a little picky. I personally put moves that take a few seconds to get all their damage across on T, such as Fury, Assault, Combustion, other damage over time moves, although I keep my bleed abilities usually on 2 and 3 because they're next to each other. That basically sums up this part of the guide. The next part is for people who use the mouse key, the middle mouse key, to adjust their camera view. Since you don't need WASD, you're actually really liberated in the sense that you can rest your fingers on QWER with your thumb sitting on the spacebar. Since you're not obligated to have any keys to redirecting your camera view, not only are you able to assign skills to just QWER in space if you choose, and be able to hit them without moving your fingers, you can assign skills to all of these keys easily because all you have to do is move your 4 fingers up and down accordingly, and then reach your index finger over to the next key. For example, your index finger would hit 5, T, G, and B. This also gives you the ability to use Tab, Shift, Control, and Alt if you choose. This is my action bar setup, so I'm going to go through with you guys right now so you can get a feel of what I just went over. you have to really picture this being centered around the ESDF to get the full visual of it. This is my dual-wield action bar. If you guys want to criticize my action bars, that's fine. If you want to use them, that's fine. Just whatever works for you really will be most beneficial, and it's up to you to figure that out. This is my two-hand action bar for melee. This is mostly for hair rocking. Not a lot of people do that anymore. I mean, it's really kind of a dead scene. If anyone knows of where I can get real hair rock fights still, I'd love to know. I just don't really see anyone out there except raggers and low levels, so that'd be great. Other than that, I have a mage bar. This is my magic bar for bossing and things like that. My ranged bar for ranging. I haven't actually really got a whole lot of use out of it yet, but I really plan to. And this is kind of a different bar. I know I said that revolution and momentum are completely useless, however, that's only when you're doing higher level situations. For example, this right here is what I use for dungeoneering and Slayer when I'm fighting something that doesn't have a lot of health or just isn't that much of a concern. I'm not telling you have to deadlock in and get focused and pump out your key bars and your cooldowns against Slayer tasks or in dungeons, unless you're fighting the boss, in which case I would recommend to go back to manual. When you're just doing something simple like Aberrant Specters, I would never consider doing any kind of manual effort. I think I would not recommend doing is to take what I said into consideration, but use Revolution and try to hit skills at the same time. That will never work out very good. You'll half-ass it, and you'll end up with half-ass DPS as a result. I really don't use this a whole lot outside of dungeoneering. You can tell because I've bound my fishing tools to it. I usually bind my drops to the end of the bar, but it works for what I need it for, and when it comes time to do the boss, I always switch back. Thank you everyone for watching my video guide. I hope you really got the most out of this experience and really enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful and beneficial and use it in the future. I would really recommend sending it to any of your friends who you boss with or anything like that. If you guys like my video and wish to see more videos of general things, just whatever, you can make requests. I can do whatever you want, guides, tutorials, general gameplay. I can do that. As you can see, I just leveled up my fishing. I guess I'm the only person that doesn't have a comp cape anymore, it feels like, but I'm working on it right now, and I can do videos updating you guys on that. PKing, if anyone really wants to, I'd love to PK. And I'll probably do some 07 videos too, keep you guys updated on everything. So if you could just like it, comment, subscribe, whatever, all that bullshit, that'd be great. And just let me know what you guys think. I appreciate the feedback, and thanks for watching.